In the heart of a vast lake, a city of wonders gleamed under the sun. It was a metropolis built on water, connected by canals and causeways, a testament to human will. This was Tenochtitlan, the capital of the mighty Aztec Empire, but its light was about to be extinguished. Its story is not just one of conquests, but of a world ending. How could a civilization of millions, at the peak of its power, vanish in less than 3 years? The year is 1519. In the Valley of Mexico, the air is crisp and thin. Great volcanoes stand guard over a network of shimmering lakes. Here, the Aztec people, who called themselves the Mexica, had built their world. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was one of the largest cities on the planet, bigger than London, Paris, or Rome. Imagine towering pyramids reaching for the clouds, their stone faces painted in brilliant reds and blues. Below, vast marketplaces buzzed with the energy of 250,000 people. The sounds of life filled the air, the chatter of vendors, the rhythmic beat of drums, the cries of exotic birds and sprawling aves. Daily life was tied to the rhythms of the sun and the water. Farmers tended to floating gardens called ingenious islands of fertile mud that produced bountiful harvests of maize, beans, and squash. Canoes glided silently through the canals, carrying goods and people across the city. Children learned the ways of their parents. Boys trained for war or the priesthood, while girls mastered the art of weaving intricate textiles, their colors as vibrant as the world around them. The smell of copal incense, burning in honor of the gods, drifted from every home and temple. Life was a delicate balance of hard work, community, and sacred duty. The Aztec worldview was shaped by a deep and demanding faith. They believed the universe was a cycle of creation and destruction. Their gods were powerful and ever-present forces of nature. Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun and war, was their chief protector. They believed he needed constant nourishment to battle the darkness of night and ensure the sun would rise each morning. This nourishment was human life itself, a concept that led to the practice of ritual sacrifice. To the Aztecs, this was not an act of cruelty, but a sacred obligation, the highest honor one could offer to preserve the cosmos. It was a worldview where life and death were intimately and visibly connected. At the top of this world sat the emperor, the Huitzilopochtli, seen as a near-divine figure who spoke for the gods on earth. In 1519, this ruler was Moctezuma II. He governed from a magnificent palace filled with lush gardens, private zoos, and halls of breathtaking artistry. Below him, society was strictly layered. There were nobles, priests, and elite warriors, adorned with feathers and jade. Then came the commoners of farmers, artisans, and merchants who were the backbone of the empire. At the very bottom were servants and captives. This rigid order maintained stability and allowed the empire to function like a well-oiled machine, ensuring tribute flowed into the capital from all corners of the land. The Aztec Empire had been built on conquest. For a century, its armies had marched out from Tenochtitlan, bringing city-states under its control. From the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Ocean, tribute poured in gold, turquoise, cacao, cotton, and brilliant quetzal feathers. But this rapid expansion created deep resentments. Conquered peoples were forced to pay heavy taxes and provide victims for sacrifice. They lived under the shadow of Aztec military power, their own cultures and gods suppressed. These hidden tensions simmered just beneath the surface, a vast reservoir of anger waiting for a spark to ignite it. The empire was strong, but its foundations were brittle. Stories like these, of worlds built on such complex beliefs, are easily lost to time. We see the ruins, but forget the people who lived among them. To remember their world and to understand how it was lost, stay with this story. The spark arrived from the sea. In the spring of 1519, strange ships appeared on the eastern horizon, vessels larger than any canoe, with vast white sails like clouds. From them came men with pale skin and hair like the sun. They were covered in metal that shone brightly, and they rode upon great beasts that the Aztecs had never seen. These were the Spanish conquistadors, led by a man named Hernan Cortes. They came seeking gold, glory, and souls to convert. To the Aztecs, their arrival was a bewildering omen. Prophecies had spoken of a god, Quetzalcoatl, returning from the east in a year of cosmic significance. Was Cortes this returning deity, or was he something far more dangerous? This question haunted Moctezuma. He chose a path of cautious diplomacy, sending gifts of gold and precious artworks to the newcomers, hoping to satisfy their desires and convince them to leave. But the sight of such wealth only inflamed the Spaniards' greed. It confirmed their belief that they had found a land of unimaginable riches. Instead of turning back, Cortes and his small army of 500 men began their march inland, straight towards the heart of the empire. They were impossibly outnumbered, a tiny force against millions, but they possessed weapons the Aztecs could not comprehend. Steel swords, crossbows, cannons, and horses. And they had a crucial, invisible ally, the simmering hatred of the empire's subjects. The journey to Tenochtitlan was a masterclass in political maneuvering. Courts forged alliances with disgruntled tribes, most notably the Tlaxcalans, fierce enemies of the Aztecs who had resisted their rule for decades. The Tlaxcalans saw the Spanish as a tool to achieve their own liberation. They provided courts with thousands of warriors, food, and vital intelligence about the empire's weaknesses. The march became a rolling insurgency. At the city of Cholula, a loyal Aztec ally, the Spanish and their Tlaxcalan partners unleashed a brutal massacre, killing thousands of unarmed nobles and civilians in the city's great plaza. News of the slaughter spread like fire, sending a wave of terror ahead of them. The message was clear: resistance would be met with annihilation. The human cost of this clash of worlds was immediate and devastating. Imagine an Aztec warrior, trained his whole life in ritual combat, with a wooden club edged with obsidian. He now faced a man encased in steel, firing a weapon that spat fire and thunder. Imagine a mother watching her family fall not to a blade, but to a sickness she could not see or understand. Smallpox, brought unknowingly by the Spanish, began to sweep through the population. With no natural immunity, the indigenous people perished by the thousands. It was a biological catastrophe that moved faster than any army, creating a landscape of grief and despair. The gods seemed silent. The world was turning upside. Finally, in November 1519, the Spanish reached the gates of Tenochtitlan. Moctezuma, still uncertain, welcomed courts into the city. For months, a tense peace held. The Spanish were guests, yet also prisoners, trapped in the island capital, surrounded by a warrior society. The tension snapped when Cortes left the city briefly. In his absence, his lieutenant ordered a massacre of Aztec nobles celebrating a religious festival. The city erupted in fury. The Aztecs laid siege to the palace where the Spanish were quartered. Moctezuma was killed, either by his own people or by the Spanish. The conquistadors, laden with gold, tried to flee in the dead of night. They were discovered. Hundreds of Spaniards and thousands of their Tlaxcalan allies were cut down on the causeways, their stolen treasure dragging them to the bottom of the lake. It was a bitter, temporary victory for the Aztecs. But Cortes was relentless. He retreated, rebuilt his army with fresh reinforcements, and returned. This time, he would not be. He brought the pieces of dismantled ships and rebuilt them on the shores of the lake, creating a naval blockade that cut off the city's food and water supply. For 80 days, Tenochtitlan was under siege. Starvation and disease did what weapons alone could not. The defenders, led by their final heroic emperor, Cuauhtémoc, fought street by street, house by house. The canals ran red. The gleaming city was reduced to rubble and ruin. On August 13, 1521, Cuauhtémoc was captured. The last resistance fell. The Aztec Empire was no more. The silence that fell over the ruins of Tenochtitlan was the silence of a world erased. Today, Mexico City stands upon the bones of Tenochtitlan. Its central square, the Zócalo, is built over the Aztecs' sacred precinct. The story of the empire's fall is a reminder of how fragile civilizations can be and how profoundly the world can change in the blink of a historical eye. It is a story of courage and brutality, of faith and greed, of a collision between two worlds that ended in the destruction of one. The echoes of that collision still reverberate today. If the stories of lost worlds and the legacies they leave behind matter to you, there are more waiting to be discovered here. Follow our channel to explore them. The past is never truly gone. It is simply waiting to be remembered.